What was it that made you click with the Quran?
Well, first I had searched everywhere else. And, I'm making dua, I'm asking Allah. When I reflect, I can realize, Allah was taking me on a certain path and answering my dua. But one night I just realized I never even read the Quran. Like, I searched everywhere else, so let me just read it. And after having searched everywhere else and after having lived a life of jahiliyyah, as soon as I started reading the Quran, it was like there was certainty that this was from Allah. Like, I had no doubt. And alhamdulillah, Allah guides whom He pleases. For example, in the USA, for sure, before 9/11 happened, it was completely different, I'm sure, giving da'wah, and just what people generally thought about the religion versus after 9/11. I remember I was in high school when this happened, and it was like, there are people I know.
I was in high school. I remember exactly where I was when
me too. And I remember going to college, and I had certain professors who, they looked at the world the way, like, how we start the Islamic calendar with the Hijrah. It's like they started the calendar like pre 9/11 and after 9/11. Like, that's how much America changed for a lot of people, and it's like these are things we have to keep in mind, and we have to figure out how to deal with these preconceived ideas that people have, and what's the best way to call them to the truth. A problem with the West, with the way that they push freedom, is that they're always talking about the freedom to do things, but there's also freedom from certain things. There's also to have freedom from being sexually harassed, or just your kids being led astray by shaitan, and all these different things, being exposed to drugs and crime and stuff like that. They never talk about that, whereas in a place like Medina, you might not have the freedom to drink alcohol, but you're free from all the dangers of being hit by drunk drivers and stuff like that, So, and this is what happens when you follow divine guidance. Allah knows everything. So when Allah tells us this is the proper way to live, it's not always about us trying to make sure that we understand it or that it aligns with all of human conjecture, but you can just see the results. Anybody who's actually lived in a place like Medina, and like you said, lived in the Gulf, where they implement certain aspects of Islam, it's very clear the results of the peace. A friend of mine told me one time, it was a good example. Like Islam, it's the Sirat al-Mustaqim, it's the straight path, and he was saying about how if you're driving your car, if you just turn it just a little bit, if you keep it tilted long enough, before you know it, you're going to be way off course, So it's like, I mean, of course we can't be extreme about things, but you can't just keep compromising because you're just going to go further and further and further astray.
Yeah, and you see that happening.